Salut, j'espère que vous allez bien. Aujourd'hui, s'il vous plaît, tournez à la page 68 du livre texte, la grammaire à apprendre les articles en général. In this chapter, chapter 2 actually goes over a lot of food items, and unfortunately the book does not formally have a list of food vocabulary items, and so I posted 2 documents on Blackboard for you to review a couple of food items if you need to. You can always use the dictionary as well. I did have a recommendation written on the syllabus for a really good online dictionary that you can go to, but try not to be too dependent on it, as you will have to do something similar to the activities in the textbook as part of your exam this week. Anyhow, let's look at the new grammar. In English, sometimes articles are not spelled out. Let's say for a sentence like, I like fruit. Okay, so that's a general statement. I like fruit. But in French, you have to say, I like the fruit. And so the word the actually has to be spelled out in French. Let's take another example right here. J'aime le coca, la coca, les coca, or le coca. So which one is it? A, B, C, or D? Okay, the answer is A. J'aime le coca. Okay, le coca. Because coca is actually masculine in French. And so you would use the definite articles, le, la, les, or L apostrophe, to say what you like, what you prefer, desires, anything like that. Okay, now since you use verbs of preferences like aimer, adorer, détester to talk about something that you do like in general, you also use the definite articles for general statements, even though they may not necessarily be true, such as le coca est bon pour la santé. Le coca est bon pour la santé. That's your opinion, but when you're making a statement about the drink in general, then you would say le coca. Now the entire idea changes when you're using verbs of consumption. That's very, very big in this chapter. Verbs like boire, manger, prendre, vendre. Okay, vendre means to sell. And there are others that are listed in the textbook as well. So going back to our example of coca, now is it je bois du coca, de la coca, des coca, or de le coca? Now in the first example we said that coca is masculine, so j'aime le coca. Now which one do you think is the equivalent of the masculine form of coca? Okay, if you answered A, you're correct. Je bois du coca. Je bois du coca. J'aime le coca. Je bois du coca. Now, these are called the definite articles, while these ones are called partitive articles. Okay, partitive articles, it's basically in the name. You're describing a part of something, as opposed to a whole. However, you can say things like je mange une tarte, to say I eat a whole pie, and that's an exception because you're actually eating the entire amount of pie. Now let's take this one right here to talk about il y a, the expression il y a. Is it il y a un coca, il y a une coca, or il y a des coca? Okay, il y a un coca. Now, when you're using an expression like there is, okay, over here, il y a, you use the indefinite article, which is what these are right here. And they're called indefinite articles because they're not exactly specified. You're not pointing at the specific bottle of Coca-Cola and you're talking about it. You're just saying that in a general sense, for example, in the refrigerator, there is there is Coke. Okay. When you're speaking in French, you normally use des with plural nouns. So if there's more than one, okay, then you would use des. Okay, so un is not necessarily the correct answer since coca is actually a loan word. You can tell because it's capitalized. Coca could also be de coca, even though coca doesn't have an S in the end. Just a little tidbit there. Alright, finally the last bit of information before we move on to another example is expressions of quantity. For example, right here. Let's say in the refrigerator again. Il reste beaucoup ou un peu du coca, un peu de la coca, un peu des coca, ou un peu de coca. So which one is it? Right, the correct answer is actually D. Il reste beaucoup de coca, or il reste un peu de coca. I put more than one example of a quantity right there because these are the two most common ones that you will run into. Beaucoup de, un peu de. Now, the expressions of quantity are actually fixed expressions, which means beaucoup de and un peu de do not change. Okay? They don't change to de la, or de, these other three right here. It doesn't matter what the gender and the number of the noun is. De just actually stays the same. Now let's look at another example. Okay, how about this one right here? J'aime le salade, la salade, les salades, ou le salade. Okay, the correct answer is B. J'aime la salade. Salade is feminine. So let's go through the same order with, like we did with coca. Okay, here was the previous example. J'aime la salade. So, to say I'm eating some salad, how would you say it? Je mange du salade, de la salade, des salades, or de la salade. Okay, logically it would be B because there's the la over there. So the feminine singular forms of the article are actually much easier to tell. Je mange de la salade. J'aime la salade. Je mange de la salade. Okay. Il y a un salade, une salade, or des salades. Okay, B. Il y a une salade. Okay, if you actually know the, you're noticing a pattern, if you know the gender and the number of the noun, then you can easily tell which one you use. Okay, and then the last one right here. Il reste beaucoup ou un peu du salade, de la salade, des salades, ou de salade. Alright, you might want to answer B, but it's actually D. De salade. Like I said before, the expressions beaucoup de and un peu de are fixed expressions, which means they do not change at all, no matter what the gender and the number of the noun is. Now that we've got masculine and feminine, nouns out of the way, one other important thing to note is negation, actually. How to say I do not like, what article do you use when you say I do not like something? There is no whatever, I'm not eating some of this, or I'm not drinking any of this food item. So let's take the example on over the drink Coke. Is it je n'aime pas le coca, je n'aime pas la coca, je n'aime pas de coca, or je n'aime pas du coca? Okay, the answer is A. Okay, je n'aime pas le coca. In the example, j'aime le coca, it actually does not change. The definite article, when you're talking about likes or dislikes or general statements such as this one right here, regardless of whether or not it's true, when you negate this one right here, le coca n'est pas bon pour la santé, yeah, you don't change the article on le coca. So the same thing goes here when you're talking about preferences. I don't like the Coke. Okay, that's how you would say it in French. Now, how about verbs of consumption? Before we said je bois du coca. What do you think it is when you negate it? Je ne bois pas du coca, de coca, ou des coca. Alright, the answer is B, de coca. Je ne bois pas de coca. The article de actually translates to nothing at all if you negate the verb. And so I am not drinking any Coke. Now what do you think it is for this example? Il n'y a pas de coca, il n'y a pas un coca, or il n'y a pas des coca. Okay, the answer is A. Il n'y a pas de coca. It's actually similar to the last example. Okay, right here. Je ne bois pas de coca. Okay, B. And then A over here. Il n'y a pas de coca to say not any at all. Okay, and then last but not least, how to express negation with expressions of quantity. Il ne reste pas beaucoup du coca, pas beaucoup de coca, or pas beaucoup de coca. Alright, the answer is B. Il ne reste pas beaucoup de coca. The answer is B, de coca. Now, when I said before that the expressions of quantity, un peu de and beaucoup de, are fixed, I do mean that they do not change at all, regardless of the gender and the number of the noun, as well as whether or not the verb is negated. And so that you have to remember always. And so in sum, the past three examples that I've shown you right here, they all change to the article de, okay, de, or d apostrophe for items that begin with a vowel sound, like for example water, okay, d'eau, et d'eau minérale, par exemple. Je ne bois pas de, il n'y a pas de, and il ne reste pas beaucoup de. So the only instance in which you actually keep the same article is when you're making a general statement or expressing your like or dislike. Okay, so right here, j'aime or je n'aime pas le coca. Okay, does not change at all, regardless of whether or not you're negating the verb. There are a couple of other examples in the book, but go ahead and try out looking at a couple of the activities and the additional vocab sheets that I posted on Blackboard. Si vous avez des questions, m'envoyez un email. Alors, au revoir et bonne journée.